online already. Just give me a sec. Yeah, I think we're live. Cool. Let me repost on my Facebook. How to? Yeah, I think we're live. Cool. Let me repost on my Facebook. Yep. How to share to your? Yeah, I think we're live. Cool. Let me repost on my Facebook. Yep. How to share to your? I think we're live. Cool. Let me repost. All right. Cool. All right. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are, guys. So today we have the legendary Zoya with us. For you guys may or may not know, he has been a legend photographer in the New Zealand for more than 20 years. I know his work since 20 years ago. He's always have this distinctive style that you can sort of look at his image and see that's from him, like from miles and miles away. And I always been a big fan of his work. Joyas has been very successful in terms of photographer community. That he has more than 400 international awards. With international competitions such as WPPI, he's have got gold awards and first place, MPA gold awards and first place. Asia WP, he's been grandmaster gold awards first place, as well as judge. In terms of Europe, he's been done with One Island, and he has been actively participating in the New Zealand photographer in the IPP for last couple of years, has been teaching there. And he has done so many works, but that's not only about him. Being a professional photographer for more than 15 years, I see so many trends. I see so many, photographers comes and go, and but Joya has always said it's always being the top dog, if you know what I'm saying, in New Zealand. He sort of has his very unique and distinctive style, which clients love very much. And lighting is the way he does his lighting is very unique, and I feel like it's very different from others, and that's how he attracts customers. Without any further ado, I will let Zoya share his thoughts on lighting and photography, and probably, philosophy-wise in terms of photography and the future. And should you guys have any question, just drop in the comments, and we will answer. Zoya will try to answer them, as soon as he finishes his PPT, or during the break. Enjoy, guys, and here we go.
Hi everyone, thanks for Iris. Hi, thanks for introducing me to all of you guys. And I have been a friend with Iris for a long time, and yeah, we've been starting together, kind of like improving together. So it's been a while. It's good. I'm very glad to be here today to share with you, with the way I shoot photos. I like to share with you how I light as well. Thanks for Godox have me here today to give me the chance to be able to work with all you guys. So yeah, here we go. I'm just start my sharing from now. So as you can see, my name is Zoya. I'm from Zoya Photography. I'm based in New Zealand. So I've been in the game for about 20 years. Let me start my sharing. Here's some of my works. You probably have seen them online and somewhere on my Instagram. Yeah, we are kind of like lucky in New Zealand. I can say to be blessed that we have beautiful background sceneries. That's I'll be able to go around and taking photos anywhere with beautiful backdrops. Here's just some of my works. That's I even go through them with you and just have a look. We have beautiful starry night in New Zealand because we have very little light pollution. So at nighttime, you can see the Milky Way with your bare eyes very clearly. So that helps us with photography as well. I'm a big fan of getting things done in camera. So I do very little composite and stacking images. I try to get everything done in camera to save the time that's in processing. So, we can have the photo to show the client in the next day. Generally, I always finish my photo on the day after shoot. And then the next day, my client can view the photos from a computer. Here's some of my works. Here we do fly to top of the mountains with helis, do a lot of heli shoot. And then we also dive into the forest and do this nature walk and hiking into mountains and do the shoot as well. It's quite challenging in New Zealand doing that. It's even we have beautiful sceneries, but a lot of places that's not very the logistic is quite hard to get in there. We're also going to the high ice caves on Tasman Glacier with a professional glacier guide, obviously. And we've been lucky to get into those ice caves and taking those wonderful photos as well. So it's an amazing location. If anyone come to New Zealand, I would recommend try that. Okay, here is so you have seen most of my work. So I'm gonna sort of like share with you what's the gear I use the most for those photos. I use AD 400 Pro and the AD 600 Pro from Godox for the man light. I like to use the Godox long focus reflector. So that allows me to throw my light from a distance to the, so I can put the light stand a bit further away outside of the frame so it doesn't get into the shot. I also use AD 200 Pro for the filling lights most of the time, but sometimes I use AD 400 for the filling light and AD 600 for the man light as well. It just depends on how far away you from the subject. When I use AD 200, I use the round head instead of the square head. It's just giving you a more powerful light and a more even light with the AD S2 standard reflector. When I use the reflector, I don't normally use the diffuser unless I go really close to the client. It's a luxury for us, for location photographers, to take a softbox or umbrella with you to the location site. I mean, I would like to use a reflector if possible, but for a lot of places that we go to in the mountains or, we have to get there, require a helicopter, the softbox and the umbrella would be just too bulk to carry, and also catch the wind. It will fall over easily, so it require extra hand actually to hold the stand. So I try to use the standard reflectors instead of softbox, but you can change the angle of the reflector to do not get the light focus on the subject, so you get a softer light than directly have it focused on the subject. So in that case, you can actually eliminate balance out the hard light issue, so it's not that hash. I also carry two V1 with me. I'm a big fan of Godox lights. I use all my lighting from Godox. They produce reasonable good quality lights and quite strong build for its price. I think it's really good to use for outdoor, especially for pre-wedding photographers. We kind of like a smashing lights quite often. I have my lights sit on a stand 3 meters high, and then when the strong wind come over, it's just fall over. We smash so many lights a year. But Godox product is kind of like I think it's well balanced with the quality and the price. So if I smash it, I can get another one without breaking my heart. I do carry 2 extra spare lights with me with Godox V1. Those lights helps me when I get very close to the customer or in a small area or when I need extra lights to light up. And the AKR1 accessory kit is always is something that I always carry with me as well. It's just helped me to shape the lights better. And sometimes I can add gel into them quite easily. They're magnetic, so it's quite easy to put them on and take them off. So that's all the light gears I carry with me every time when I go for a shoot. So I do have the AD300, AD400, AD600, and two V1 spare lights in my case. So that's all the gears I normally use for taking all the photos. Camera wise, at the moment I'm using Nikon. I'm using Z9, but I do have D4S and D850 as well. Sometimes it just depends on whatever camera I pick it up, I use. For some high-end clients, they require higher resolution or bigger range of dynamic range. I do use medium format as well. I do have Phase 1 and Hasselblad. So I use Hasselblad more often, just because of I like the color better. Phase 1, I do use them for some commercial shooting, but I have to say most my working horse is Nikon Z9 or D800, 50, D850. Lens-wise, I'm really like 24-70. So 90% of the shots I've done are using 24-70. That's my favorite lens, and that's always on my camera. And I do also use 14x25, 14x24, the wide angle lens for starry night shoot or wide angle shot. I always have 70-200 with me just in case, but I don't use it very often. So yeah, that's the gears I use. And about trigger as well. I use the Godox X Pro trigger. I found it's quite easy to use and switch in channels and control different lights. You can actually control 5 light settings with on the top menu. It's quite easy to use them. I modified X Pro for my Hasselblad and the Phase 1. I found when you're using those contacts, if you have those contacts that's with TTL, you actually causing a communication problem with medium format. Unfortunately, Godox hasn't announced any triggers for medium format yet, but I just modify the triggers. So it's good to know if you're using Godox lights with a medium format on a trigger, you probably want to take in those contact spot off and just leave the central spot, and that will work with your medium format. And as you know, medium format is working leaf shutter, so you can actually get full power up to 1/2000 seconds with Godox lights without even using high speed sync. So yeah, just a tip that I use the triggers. Okay, if you look at all the photos here before, they with different lighting and different setups. Oh, okay, I just saw a pop-up message. Okay, I'll ignore that for now. I will answer that later on. Okay, if you look at those photos here, I use different light setup to do them. But I would like to share one light setup I use quite often with you today. If you shoot in middle day, when the sun is right up high on the sky, sometimes we found that it's quite hard to control it during the middle daytime because shooting in noon, either you're gonna get overexposed sky or background, or otherwise you're gonna have underexposed subject. So I had my assistant sitting on my balcony and take a test shot on this one. It's 12 o'clock in the lunchtime, so the sun is right high up high in the sky. When I take the shot without any light, the subject is quite dark. I have the sun on the left side of the picture of the subject, and you can see the sun is actually working as a rim light to giving a highlight on the edge of my model. So I set up lights on the left side with my main light, which is the AD 400 Pro. It's just outside of the frame and same direction as the sun. So it's lit up the face of the subject. So you can see his face is much better with the highlight on. So it looks more 3D. So that's what my main light does. So this is AD 400 with the long through reflector. I have it set on the same height, go high on the sun, and then also towards the subject from 45-degree angle. But then you can see the shadow is a bit too dark. So I need to add up a filling light to light up the shadow, to fill up the shadows. So I have added AD 200 Pro on my right-hand side, just next to the camera. As you can see on this lighting diagram, so I have the AD 400 up high and same angle as the sun to go onto the subject's face to light up, to create a highlight on his face. The sun now is become a logic light source, so it look like the highlight is actually from the sun. Okay, so it's and then you get those AD 200 Pro on the right hand side to fill up the shadows. Now you can see the shadows are much softer. So when you add those lights on and with your logical light source in the background, you actually blend your artificial lighting into the thing, so it look like it's not being lighted, but you actually have put your flashlights into the photo to create this look. So for the same principle, I changed the model, a better one. Okay, so I took a shot with no light. So you can see the lady is actually in dark. The lady is in dark and it's underexposure. So as for the same side, as for same setup, I shot this shot with 2.8 8,000 seconds. The good part with Godox is actually you can do high speed syncs up to 8,000 seconds, which is pretty cool. We don't have that luxury 20 years ago, but thanks for the technology, it's great. So why I shoot with 2.8? Because I don't want the sun to be a big star. When you reduce your shots, when you reduce your aperture under 18 or under 16, the sun start to having a star effect, and the star will have lighter rays to go through here. And because the sun in this composition is too close to the subject, so you will have the lighter rays all over the subject's face. So that's why I want to keep my aperture big, so you don't have the sun in the star with the lighter rays that's affect my subject. So I shot with ISO 100 and with 14 mil wide angle. Then I start to add the first lights in, same as the one that I showed you before with my assistant. So the main light AD 400 Pro added in on the left-hand side, just outside of the frame. Now you can see the model's face as lighted up with highlight. And because I didn't use the reflector right focus on her face straight away, I was shooting a little bit outwards with the light. So the light is actually going, the light holder is actually pointing into the sky a little bit. So I'm using the edge of the light on her highlight. So that actually look like I was using a softbox. The light is much softer when you do that way. Then I added the filling light to the back. So now you can see the filling light is on the back. So the shadows are being filled up with the light, and that's the roll straight from the camera. The filling light was added. Okay, now I want to talk about a little bit about the white balance effects on your photos as well. When I shoot this one, I use the custom white balance. So I set the white balance to 7,700 in my camera. So that's why when you take those photos, it looks like a lot warmer than actually it is when you look at it with your eyes. A lot of people using automatic white balance to set in the camera, but that's a vision of the camera, not your vision. So it's quite important for me. When you taking the photo for the actual scene, but you are seeing it with your artistic eyes and you have your artistic vision of it. So when I see this one, I think it's with a warm tone will actually give this photo a lot more softness and create a more kind of like an oil painting effect. So that's why I set my white balance higher. Just to share a little tip with you, when you're thinking about white balance, if you have ever used the custom white balance before, if you set your white balance to 9,000 or 10,000 in your camera, when you take a photo without any flashlight, the whole picture is going to be red or warmish because the whole picture is going to be at 9,000K. But when you're using a flashlight, the area actually being covered by the flashlight, it's not going to be 9,000K anymore because the flashlight is 5,000K. So that's standard. So when you have the flashlight onto the subject, especially for example, this one on the face of the subject. So where the light cover, it's not 7,700K anymore because the light is 5,000K. It's actually drag the color temperature back from the 7,000K to about 6,000K, if that makes sense. So your flash coverage will drag the settings on your camera back halfway between the flash white balance and the camera setting balance. Okay, let me explain that a bit more later on. Okay, so apply for the same principle. This is another photo I have done with the same principle. So the highlight is on the left side with the main light, and the filling light is on my left. And also as well as this one. So they always the same light setup. And same as this as well. So the highlight is on the left, and then the filling light is on the right-hand side low. And same as this one as well. So see, after I explain how I use the light, when you see a similar light setup, you can actually apply it and figure out, okay, where the light is and why the light goes that way. Just be careful if you have the logic lights on your left-hand side, and make sure your main light is also on the left-hand side, so this picture looks more real, and your highlight more kind of like you blind your artificial light into the frame as well. Otherwise, if you have the highlight on the right-hand side and you have your main light on the left-hand side, it looks a little bit strange. But I mean, obviously, sometimes you do that just for the vision you have. But yeah, in most cases, I would have the logic lights same direction as my main light setup. Same as this photo as well. Main lights on the left. As you can see, if you look at the shadows on the cloud, the sun is actually right above in the lunchtime. No. So that's a light setup I want to share with you guys, and hopefully you can sort of like get some idea of how I set up the light and how the lights when you're shooting at lunchtime or during the day with the sun right up, then you can still do a lot with your light setup. With the correct light setting, you can actually getting very good result straight from your camera instead of wait for the post-processing part. So that's the part I want to share with you with the light setup part. Yeah, with my explanation, if we look at those photos again, you pretty much can figure out how the light's been set up. If you understand how the light's set up, the only thing left to you for you to do is just posing the model and getting the right mood out of the photos and thinking about more composition rather than the light. So I think this is a useful light setup I use in my photo shoot, and that's something I want to share with you today. So when you look at all those photos, there's another thing you probably quite notice. You notice my style is quite consistent with different photos shoot in even in different locations, different time of the day, but you keep the same sort of like a style of your photography. I think that's very important to a photographer. There's thousands of us all over the place, and for those who in the game, for professional photographers, I think your style is the core value of being a photographer, being yourself. Because the only thing is, like, if you're selling the same Coke as anyone else, every shop selling the same Coke, then you have to compete with each other, either price or your service. Okay. But if you selling a different Coke, like everyone else is selling this Coke, but you're selling a green Coke, then you have this different product as everyone else. You can actually start to pricing your product, or you can identify yourself and stand out from the market. So I think that the style is very important for a photographer itself. So I want to share a little bit about a style with you as well, because I think everyone needs to have to work on that. It's if you know where you're going, if you're shooting towards the moon, if you miss, you will die among the stars. That's a famous saying, isn't it? So if you know where you're going, and then you can working towards it, at the end you're probably not gonna get to very close, but at least you're on the way. You're getting closer. Just a few more photos with different light setup and in different location as well. But you can see them even with different shutter speed, different location, different time of the day, but they keep the same sort of like style. So your style is your identity. People seeing your photos with so it's you present your style with your it's like your face. Okay, people recognize you with your style. If you're changing your face all the time, you're changing your style all the time, then people will start to thinking, okay, what you look like. Then you actually blurry the memory of yourself to your client, to your market. So to keep the same style, people can tell your work from miles away and more competitive in your market as well. And also, more importantly, you can set up your own price and create your legacy in your style once you master it. The deeper you go into your style, then it's harder for other people to take it over, because it's you mastered it, so people cannot harder to get into it. Yeah, I'm just going to share with you a little bit more about that. Does anyone has got any questions about the light setup? That's should we take about 10 minutes for the Q&A part for the lighting
Sure, that'd be
setup.
great.
Right.
Let's start from George.
Do you use double exposure on your camera to take night photos? No, I don't. I like to do them in one shot. So when you working professionally and you have photo shoot every day, you do want to get that done in one shot. Then, if you have to compensate your shots all the time, that will create a lot of post-processing work for you. And then you're probably going to take 2 days shoot. Then you come back home and do 4 days or 10 days editing. Yeah, if you can get it done in camera. Don't do composite. Maybe now about the light setup for the wedding photo during the night with Milky Way as a background, please. Sure, yeah. Firstly, I don't use flashlight for the night shoot Milky Way. Let me go back to the slide with night shot. Okay, for example, this one here. Firstly, I don't use flashlights at nighttime because flashlights will create a very different light quality than the ambient light at nighttime. So I use continual lights. At nighttime, I use Godox R1 and M1 or LC 500R. I use LC 500R quite often, actually, the light tube. It's got a little remote that you can turn it on and turn it off, okay? So firstly you do is you have to get to the correct exposure for your Milky Way. So firstly, you need to find somewhere that has no light pollution or least light pollution. And you set up your camera, you get to the correct exposure for your Milky Way. Generally, it would be about, you don't want to go over 20 seconds, okay? Because our Earth is spinning. And if you go over 20-second exposure time, you're going to start to have lighter rails. So the star will travel. So then you're going to have lighter rails. It's not a dot anymore. It's going to be small lines, okay? So you don't want that. So you want to keep your exposure time within about 15 to 16 seconds. The aperture wise, I use 2.8. Well, I mean, the bigger you go, the better it goes. So you get more lights into your camera. After those two, your camera, you can't go over 20 seconds of exposure time, and you can't go wider than 2.8 with my lens. That's a limitation of my lens. Then the only thing you can you can control to get more lighting is your sensitivity of your chip. So it's ISO. So I increase ISO to get to the correct exposure, but depending on the day and also depending on where you are, you can get to the Milky Way from 3200 ISO up to 6400 ISO. But you just have to take a few test shots to find that out. After you get to the correct exposure of your sky, now you place your subject into the frame. For example, the photo here showing on there, the couple sit inside of the car, and I have two lights there. So one light is above them, just right on the the ceiling, right in front of them. I use a clip to clip the lights onto the what do you call that? The shade thing that's stop the sun blend into your eyes. So I clipped my lights onto that, and there's one more light behind them on the rear seat. As they sitting inside of the car, so they are actually completely dark. If you don't turn the lights on, they don't actually expose. So if they have a little movement, it doesn't really matter. So you, at the end of the exposure, you turn the lights on for less than 1 second, and then you expose the subject. So in that way, you can get to the shot in one go and without any blurry on the subject. I hope that answers your question. For highlight, would you say V1 with grade or 860? Thanks. It depends on really where you are. I mean, most of the light setup I showed you before with the sun right behind it, I actually using the sun as a highlight. Okay, so the sun is actually working as a rim light, lighting up from behind. My light is only for the highlight on the subject, and the filling light to fill up the shadows. If you want to use V1 or 860 for the highlights, which is fine, you just have to go either closer inside of a building indoor or in the evening time. Yeah, I would say V1 and 860 works in the same sort of like a way. It doesn't really matter. I would prefer V1 though, because of V1 has got those accessory sets, magnetic. You can easily attach to it. With 860, you just have to put the old-fashioned way to wrap it off and using a rubber or buy third-party accessories to use. Do you have experience on round flash head for AD200? Yes, I do. I do use the ring flash, actually, AD200 ring flash. I love it. It makes a very good filling light when I shoot, like all the photos I showed you today, and also the light setup I shared with you today. You can actually replace the filling light with the ring, the H200R. You can replace that, and that will make the picture looks better because you can have even softer filling lights to fill up it. I don't normally use it just because of we go into the locations is quite far away. Some places we have to hike in or require a helicopter to go in. It's quite bulk to carry a big ring flash with you. So I just kind of like a more prefer to use AD200 more on the location shot. It's apart from my camera, so I can easily, it's not attached to my camera, so I can easily move around if I do need to. But I would recommend the ring flash for a wedding session. If you do have a wedding session, especially for a reception time or a first dance time, you have to move around, and it's hard to have your light flash move with you all the time. Then attached to camera ring flashlight will be quite useful. Photo with the sun in the viewfinder saying to put strength on the mirrorless camera. Is one of the reasons you're using D850? No, actually. I mean, we have quite a few different photographers working in our studio, and all the cameras is just sitting in the studio. I just grab whatever available. I don't really. I'm not a big camera fan. I work with anything. If there's a D4S available, I would just grab the D4S. If there's D50 available, I would just grab whatever available there. So I don't really. No, I don't have any problem with a Z9 mirrorless camera with a sound director going to the viewfinder. I don't use the viewfinder a lot, actually. I don't use the spec screen a lot. I use the viewfinder all the time. So yeah, I haven't found any problem with that. So you don't use much gels and manually balance 7000K with a flash temperature. Could you give details on the shoot with reflector edge to get a softer light? Okay, I do use gels from time to time, but sometimes on a shooting sessions, if you have more time, then you can obviously use gels. I do use gels. It's just in some shots I do use gels. With gels and plus the white balance. And when you look at in the back of your camera, when you're using the custom white balance, you not just from 2000 to 10,000K white balance you can change from. You also can shift the white balance. In my camera, if you hold the white balance key down, most of the camera would do that. Then you have a with RGB chart that you can shift the white balance up and down to more colder or more warmer, or left or right, more yellow or more greenish. You can actually use in that as well. I do use that quite often. And also there is in your picture style, there is you can use a hue as well. The hue will actually move up and down to get extra warm or extra cold. So those three settings that work together in your camera, you can actually get the color. You can get most of the color from your camera. And when you import them into Lightroom or Capture One, you just have to keep the camera settings, and then all your setup in your camera will get loaded to your computer with your settings as well. So with those three work together, you can actually balance the color temperature and get to the right color you want in that. And plus, you can add get into your flash. That's just give you more tolerance or more area to move around. You can play a lot more, being a lot more creativity in that. So it's endless. You can kind of like play around with that. Regards to the detail about the reflector, so it's working like the reflector is like a ball, isn't it? So if you write using that directly towards the subject, so all the light will get reflected in the reflector and then focused onto your subject. If you point the reflector straight into your subject, the light's gonna be focused on them, and also it's going to be quite harsh. So you get very strong shadow or very clear shadows, quite harsh light. You can move the light further away from your subject. That will soften the light out. But sometimes you need a stronger light. You can't move the light too far away. Then you can change you can just direct the light, not strict onto your subject. You can move it sideways or up and down. Normally I would go up because I don't want to get to the ground to put too much light into the ground. So I would go up to pointing into the skyway a little bit. So using the edge of the light onto the subject, that's create a much softer light on your subject. Well, I mean, if you have the luxury to use a softbox, will solve out all the problems. So you don't have to play that. It's just us. We, sometimes when we on field, we just don't have the luxury to use a softbox. So we kind of like play with reflector a lot. Can you show raw file to get understand how much post edit needed? How does it look in camera? Yes.
I think you have a master class.
Hey?
I think you have a master class on that. Did you?
Yeah. We do have a master class online. Which on there I'm gonna share how I found my style, and I have formed tools to share with you how I step by step guide you to find your style, and also how I shoot, how I do my location hunt, and how I place my subject into each location, and how to set out the light. Also, there will be post editing course in there as well. I'll take you through step by step how I edit each photos. So,
all right, guys, I will just post. Sorry, Zhuo Ya. I'll just post his masterclass link in the comments below, so that you guys, if you guys are interested, you can go and check out his class. So to answer that question, would there be raw images there?
Yes, we give.
Yeah. Okay.
So in there's attached the files to the masterclass. So you will have all my roles, and
Okay.
you can edit my roles step by step with me and get the same result.
Awesome. Okay. I think that's pretty much all the questions. Like
Cool, awesome.
you got so many thank yous. Like
No, that's all good.
honestly, I appreciate that answer, man.
No worries, no worries, no worries. Okay. Well, we got another extra bit of time, so I just want to share with you guys a little bit more information about it's for professional photographers. You're probably more interested into it. I'm just sharing that from my slide with you. So we talked about the style. I think that's for me. I think your photography style is like a plus important. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had something. Okay. I think your style is very. It should be in the top of the line, actually, to thinking about if you are a professional photographer, because you don't want to shoot the same photo as everyone else. You want to be able to form up your own style and stick onto that style so people can recognize you through your work. So if you drop your photo into a bunch of other photos, or people see it, then without seeing the name on the photo, people should tell, oh, okay, that's your work. I think if you can get that, I think that's a very important. So you will stay strong on the market because people cannot get the same stuff from others who have to come to you. And in that way, you will be a lot more stronger in your competition, in your market, and also helps you to get your client recognize you as well. I'm just sharing a little bit of something else apart from how I run my studio as well. So it's actually every business works the same way. So you have your revenue and you have your cost, then you have your profit. If you're a retail business or you're a photography business or whatever you do. So you have your revenue $10 and then you have your cost $8 and then you work out your profit is $2. So as a photographer, we are not good at math because we are artists. We don't want to look at the numbers. But sometimes if being a photographer, it's quite important for us to be able to understand the numbers and understand the business so we can actually doing better in the business wise, and then you can buy the gears you want and providing a better life to your family. So how does the revenue come up? It's actually $1, the unit price, the times the number you sell. So the unit price of $1, for example, you sell one photo for $1, and then you sell 10 photos, then you will get $10, and that's your revenue. Okay. So the cost is 80 cents per photo, and then you sell 10 photos, then your cost is $8, and that's how it comes to your cost. Okay, so I'm talking about flexible cost. Your fixed cost is not involved in this. So I'm talking about direct sales profit. So your revenue equals the unit price times number of sales. Your cost as your unit cost times the number of sales, and then your profit. So which do you think is more important? In the unit price, the unit price is more important, or the number of sales is more important? So some people saying, okay, well, hey, the unit price is more important. I can sell $2 per photo. Some people says, hey, if I advertise more, I can have more clients if I take in like 1 or 2 weddings a week. How about I take 4 weddings a week? If I take 4 weddings a week, then I will be making better money. So your more clients is more important, or your price is more important? That's always a question. Let me show you. Okay, so your revenue and your cost stays the same. So a lot of people are asking, okay, well, if I increase my my price in photo shoot, in my photo session, so from $1 photo, now I'm gonna be $1.10 a photo. So I'm going to be doing $1.10. I increase my unit price by 10%. Okay. Or some people says, I want to increase my client by 10%. So if you're doing like 100 clients a year, and now I want to doing 110 clients a year. So now I'm going to share with you from my experience. I'm going to tell you, this is how, if you increase 10%, okay, on your client. So if you get more clients come to you, but you stay in the same price doing the photo session, but you have more clients come to you, what you're going to do is you increase 10% of the quality, 10% of the quantity of your client. Then you're going to have $10 per unit, $1 a photo. Now you have 11 sale. So then you make $11. That's your revenue. That's total revenue. But your cost stays 80 cents per photo. And now you times 11. So your cost becomes $8.8. Okay, so that's your profit increase 10%, because if you increase 10% of your quantity, your revenue increased 10%, but your cost increased 10% too. Then your profit increased 10%. Okay, if we increase your unit price, so now we sell $1.1 per photo, and we still have 10 customers. Now our revenue is $11, but the cost price stays the same. 0.8 times 10 customers, the cost price is 8. So 11 minus 8 cost, your profit is actually gone up 50%. This simple mathematics is actually showing you your price for your photo session is more important. It's like 5 times more important than your number of your client. So if you're thinking about this, you can work harder, advertising more to get more clients, to get 10% more clients come to you, but you will make 10% more money. If you're working harder to working on your price, or maybe produce a unique style of photos that no one else could, and you could charge a bit more on your photo sessions, you don't have to increase the number of clients you shoot, but your revenue or your profit is actually increased to 50%. If that makes sense, guys. So my point is, I understand a lot of professional photographers struggling out there and trying to fight in the market, getting more clients, coming to the market and, trying to get more clients. But when you look at it that way, okay, well, you get more clients, you're shooting more clients, but you don't necessarily means effectively increasing your profit, because profit is what you need to feed your family and buying the gear you want. So if you look at the result focusing, you actually better off to increase your price, working on to increase your price rather than to getting more clients come to you. So how do I increase my price? Come back to the style part. If you're doing the same photo, the same style as anyone else does, and you're doing the same quality or same style as everyone else does, you can't actually compare with the price, because if you charge more, people don't want to come to you. They will choose the cheaper one, or they will choose a more competitive one, or maybe that one's more as a service is better, or that one's giving me one more album, so I will go with him because he does the same photo. I mean, firstly, I just want a wedding photo done, and when I look at this photographer and that photographer, I can't tell the difference between those two. Oh, this one has got some good photos, this one also has got good photos, but they don't have a style in difference. So then they will actually make the decision based on something else, the price, or maybe someone gives them more edited photos, or someone gives them one extra free album. They will go for that. So see, if you don't have your style, then you lose the control of the competition in your market, and you will go in and start to fight getting more clients. So my point is, if you spend more time to work on how you can create your own style and master it, being different, being the one that's different in your market, you can make a better business or being a better photographer at the same time and doing better business in the market too. So that's just a little bit of business thinking about how I run my business with you guys as well. And of course, those information will be covered in my masterclass as well. I will show you how I formed my style, and I'll give you some tools to be able to form your own style as well, and found your style and form your style and then master it. Apart from those technique part of photography.
All right, just guys, just give me 1 sec, okay? I think that's this one. Yeah. All right, guys, you can follow Zoya's Zoya's social media on his Facebook and as well as Instagram. That's the handle right there. You guys feel free to take his screenshots just in case you want to check him out. He does put lots of BTS, like behind the scenes, how he shoots his photos and what's the, with lights and without lights there. Like guys, checking out once you finish this podcast. Something else I want to share with you guys though. While you guys just give me 1 sec. Let me pronounce this computer. I had a chance to check out his course curriculum. Let me see if I can share the image. No, I can't. I can't share it. I'm sorry, I can't share a PNG file, screenshots on the podcast. But once you click the link and go through, I noticed he actually shared four case studies. If correct me if I'm wrong. So there will be lots. I think to answer the question previously or mentioned, with image selection, how do you select the right image? How do you do the Lightroom adjustment? His recipe in terms of creative white balance are also shared there. Then detail editing in terms of workshop. I'm not saying, guys, you should mimic Zoya's style. Like everybody should be different, and we are all unique, creative artists ourselves. But here's what I'm saying: as a professional photographer, you are not competing with the photographer around the world. You're probably just competing with the photographer around the corner, right? So it never hurts to have multiple arrows in your quiver, right? One more thing to maybe his work is not there to change the whole, your whole profile, but his work is there to make you create this one special image, at your professional portrait or wedding photography, that you have this wow image to attract your customer, to give you some price advantage in terms of longevity. Do check his it's 3 hours of full contents there in his full masterclass. So if you guys love his work or enjoy his style, do go there and check it out. Before we actually go, let's answer one last question from.
Sure. I'm just putting some additional information as well.
Yep.
I'm sharing. It's not I think everyone here is actually a very creative person, an artist. So everyone will have different the background where they come from and how they get into photography. So to helping yourself find what you really like and being your own style is very it's very important. It's not like I will copy someone else's style. That's not the goal. The goal is to find yourself and find whatever you really like, and bring the real you out. And that's for kind of more. Sorry, what was the question? I mean, you don't have time to compose a picture with flashes. I did get a difference. How do you deal with a regular photo? Sorry, what did you say? You lost voice. You muted?
Sorry, I think I mute myself.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think Daniel was referring to the wedding day photography, that you don't have time to set up 2 or 3 lights. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that to so on the wedding day, firstly, in this, well, I mean, there's like a couple of uh, uh, um, uh, you must sing the you go there, have a look at the wedding ceremony, the the where the ceremony goes, before, obviously before the ceremony starts. So you kind of like a pro judge, you deal with the event coordinator, so you know where the bride coming in and where the ceremony gonna hold, so you can actually set up the lights pre the ceremony starts, and then you, once you set them out, you don't have to move them. With Godox lights, it's quite cool. With the triggers, you can actually change the light use and turn them on and turn them off all the time. So during wedding, especially in the ceremony part, I set up 3 lights on 3 stands, and then I just changing them with my triggers. But sometimes I a lot of the time you just want to have a rim lights in the back, to be honest, and then just the front one, I don't actually use a fill light, so most of the time just a rim light from the behind, I think. But from left and the right side, you can actually changing them from your trigger.
To further answer your question, Daniel, Godox actually worked with Kilu, another good friend of mine. He does a wedding day photography, the full coverage. So you can go and check his work out. Most of the time, you're using on-camera flash like everybody else, or natural lights, right? You don't have to deliver 2,000 images of all used by flash. You probably only 10 or 5% of your images are coming out of multiple flash setup, but that's going to be your profile, distinguish yourself from the market, and that's good enough. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. Oh yeah, here's one last question. Let's just answer that before we let Zoya go.
Yeah, as I showed you in the slide, I use the long through reflector from Godox.
Yeah, that has been answered, Riaz. If you go back and watch from the beginning, Zoya has shared the full camera equipment list as well as lighting and accessories. All right, so that's the end of the podcasting. Thank you, Zoya, again for sharing so many knowledges. If you guys are still struggling to understand the concepts of feathered, reflect lights on the location where exactly should go, how to do the composition, and editing wise, how to break it down in terms of which parts go to Lightroom, which parts go to Photoshop, do go to Zoya's masterclass to check it out. And thank you, Zoya, for your sharing. And
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming to the podcasting. I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.